Get that. There we go. Welcome, everybody. Thanks for your patience. My little 4-year-old decided to go potty right as I was about to go live. So, summertime, mom life, kiddos kind of being at home much of the time, but juggling camp schedules. How's everybody doing? Good. Awesome. All right. So I know it looks like Marcia, you are ready to go. You've got a question. Why don't you go live and let's see how we can help.
Okay. So I have just been moving out of state. So I'm here now. I haven't officially closed on the house there. And right now my LLC is still registered in Colorado. And I'm trying to decide what to consider and how to move it to Iowa, which is my new state. Okay. And the other little wrinkle is several months ago, I got on and I said I had changed the name legally in Colorado, but hadn't notified the IRS. And I still haven't notified the IRS. So that makes it a little bit more interesting.
And so when you changed the name, was it registering a new DBA or was it doing an actual name change?
It was an actual name change. So I have the piece of paper that changed the entity name in Colorado.
Got it. Okay.
And then I was supposed to, which you nicely told me, to send a registered letter to the IRS and tell them I did that. And then life got going and I never got it done.
Okay. So a couple things is depending on your strategy for moving your business, you may or may not to. If you end up closing your LLC, right, there's probably little else you need to do aside from final reporting, including any taxes or whatever to wrap up with the IRS. You could still send the letter, right, so that they have it on file and then proceed with whatever's going to happen next. Now, you said your new state is Iowa.
Right. And okay. I have not actually looked yet to see what kind of things they have.
Okay. So this is a little bit of a tricky, let's just talk about the logistics. And actually it's super timely because so many people are relocating and so many business owners have people in multiple states. So this kind of multi-jurisdiction issue is actually really common right now and something that people need to understand. I'm just Googling whether Iowa allows for conversion of LLC. So there's a couple ways, there's a couple things that people should know about moving states and how you can relocate your business. Let me just look really quick because there's basically, I'll walk you through kind of a variety of strategies. There are a number of ways that you can do this. So the first one is really straightforward. You literally close down the business entity in Colorado, start a new one in Iowa, right? How would this make sense? So one, if you are going to change the name of your business anyways, right? So if there's some other things that would encourage it to be an entirely new business, then that might be a good strategy. But what are some things to think about in the background? Well, whenever you close a business, if you've got any creditors, right, there's a certain process that you have to go through with your state to make sure that you have paid the Department of Revenue, that you've taken care basically of all of your business obligations in order to properly close it. So if you don't have creditors, less of an issue. Yeah. But you still have the issue of intellectual property, right? You've built and created a variety of intellectual property in this previous business. What do you do with that, right? Well, if it's still in your name as an individual, meaning that, like, let's pretend you've got copyright registrations as an individual, you've got like some other things that haven't been transferred to the business, haven't been properly assigned over to the business, then maybe you just make an assignment, from yourself as an individual to the new company. But if the business owns your previous intellectual property, you've got basically a transferable asset that has tax consequences, that has like some other financial things that you have to consider. So it's not always just as easy as closing down the business here and restarting it over here. Now, if your plan is to own all of the IP in the new business and you don't have registrations yet, you don't have trademark registrations, you don't have copyright registrations, then sometimes it's okay because you can just pursue all of your intellectual property protection inside of the new company once it's formed, right? But it is why some businesses, depending on how much they've accumulated, whether they really have a wide variety of financial assets that already exist, may actually choose another strategy. So what other strategies are available? You can sometimes do what's called a conversion, which is where you would leave your LLC set up in Colorado. You would form what's called a foreign corporation in Iowa, right? So you're setting up essentially the equivalent of that business, in Iowa. And then you'd have to go back to the state of Colorado to get certain documents related to conversion, which means you're going to convert your home base, the company base, over to Iowa, right? And so generally you initiate that paperwork in the state where the company is originally based. And then with the help probably of some filing clerks and people that know what they're doing in the new state, file those conversion documents with the new state to actually convert that foreign corporation to basically, a regular corporation within the state. Okay, so that's the conversion part. And then you'd go back to Colorado and close down that original business. And so now your home base is in Iowa, but that is one of the ways to avoid all of the work that can come with transferring assets, documenting all of this stuff, which can, require a bit of legal support if you're having to make assignments of copyrights, assignments of trademarks, et cetera. And so I know you're saying you don't have any, federally registered federal registrations yet, but for anybody watching this or the recording, I just want to make that process clear. Now, some states don't allow for conversion, right? So it is something that you have to check with the state where you're going to see, do they have a process that will facilitate that? If they don't, you can also do basically like, and I think for lack of a better term, it would basically be like a merger where you go ahead and set up your company in the foreign state as a foreign corporation, and then you merge the two, right? Okay, here's Kathleen. And so there, some of this can get somewhat complex, but knowing and doing a little bit of research online about that, especially if it's an LLC, moving an LLC from this specific state to this specific state, because every state has slightly different rules around how this might work, right? And then of course, reaching out and getting legal help if you need it. But some of this can be done just by following the forms trails on the Secretary of State for each state's location, right? And then sometimes it just takes a little extra legwork talking to the filing clerks, making sure that they're with you on the process and you're doing it the right way and that you're not missing any forms. But it's, there are a variety of options to choose from. And so it's a good thing that you're asking, because people do need to think about it before they pull the trigger. Right. And, the other thing that one of those last two strategies will accommodate is for people that are like, oh, so for example, I've got a client who has 8 employees. They're in 6 different states throughout the United States, and she's got 60 contractors around the world. It would be super inconvenient for them to lose their EIN, right? Their federal employment identification number. If they move states and had to shut everything down, terminate that EIN and start over, that's a lot of paperwork. It's a lot of payroll issues. There's just a lot going on with that scenario. So that's another reason why, if, for certain small businesses, and again, particularly anybody else on the recording or, on the call or accessing this on the recording, if you're in a scenario where you really need to protect that EIN, you might consider looking at either a conversion approach or like a merger and acquisition type of, or really just a merger type of scenario to see if that can preserve your EIN and some other like accounts and stuff that it will save you lots of headache.
Okay. So that's okay. So first thing, I need to send that letter that I was supposed to send before, and then I will figure out which way to go. if I close down in Colorado first and then start a new company, I need a new
Mhm.
EIN. And the other two ways, possibly I don't.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
And the reason you would want to preserve the EIN is because you have a lot of moving parts attached to your business that utilize
Yes.
that EIN, right?
Exactly, which is part of the reason I have to send that letter, because I still don't have Stripe up to date with my new name, because it's all
Yes.
hooked in there. So yes, yeah, all the financial stuff is hooked to that EIN.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Well, and it really is a
Okay,
trade-off for you trying to consider whether or not that's going to be cleared up in time, right? To do something like a conversion versus just starting fresh, right? And setting
and
that
then
all
get a
up
new
with and just get
IAN,
a
and then
new
just,
one. Yeah, exactly. So
and I could use the same name.
yeah, especially since you're registering in a different state, you'd obviously want to check and make sure, this is another important reminder
Right,
for
that
people
it's
on the
not
call,
taken.
that it's not taken, that it's not already registered, because even if you've registered it in Colorado and that was clear, may not be clear in Iowa, right?
Right.
So you need to
Good
do that
point.
search all over again with the Secretary of State in Iowa to make sure that there are not any currently registered businesses that have that name or a really similar sounding name, because then you'd want to double check. There's both federal trademarks, which are, national, federal level, but there's also state level trademarks. So you could, if you're like, oh, I'm fine because it's not exactly the same, could still be problematic if they have a state level trademark that would preclude anybody from a similar sounding business doing business in that region, right? So
Right.
couple of additional steps on the naming thing when you move.
Okay, great. I've got
Okay.
work to do. Thank you.
Alrighty. Yes, good luck. Good to see you, Marcia.
Yeah.
All right, excellent. Well, welcome to everybody else on the call. Any other questions for today? And just for people watching the recording, this is the Ask Me Anything live from July 11th. So crazy that we're this far into the summer already. All right, David has a hand up. Welcome, David. You want to go live?
Yeah. Let me see if I can get my picture to
There you
work.
are.
Yeah. So a different monitor. I'm in a different location. I'm in Branson, Missouri right now.
Oh, I was going to say, I don't recognize your background.
Yeah. I'm on the way to Kansas City for a networking event, but I was in Kansas City on Saturday to present my short sale presentation, which is really cool. There was 39 people on Facebook that said they were going, and 31 showed up in the room.
Woo, that's a really good number.
Yeah, 31 out of 39 on
Yes.
Facebook. And then out of those, Heather, there was, I think, 26 that texted the word short.
That opted in to your system. Yeah.
So that was kind of cool. Anyway, I came to Branson because I have to be back in Kansas City on Tuesday. So I don't want to go all the way to St. Louis when I can come to Branson and get some stuff done. So
nice.
A little bit. So everything's in different places. So I apologize if I'm not looking at you.
No, I get it.
I just sent this to you on email. I certainly didn't want to give you any chance to think about it. So I gave it to you right now, but I'll try to ask the question.
Okay.
And you can have the website link reference, for later.
Yep.
But it goes back to some copyright issues. So, we're like this close to getting my materials up on my website with, the DBAs put into it and stuff.
Yeah.
I had a tenant leave the past 2 weeks and we scrambled for that. But now I found something interesting from, the NRA, the big realtor board across the United States. They put out an article on copyright claims saying that there is some potential legal issues when you're doing a blog and you're using pictures and other materials, in your blog site, and they are giving references to that we should maybe consider on our website terms and policies having a designated copyright agent, so that when we are, so that there is a place for, if we violate the DMCA takedown procedures, that we have maybe a designated copyright agent in our website documents. I wanted to get your thought on that.
Excellent question. Yeah. So great question. So for folks listening, what David is talking about is if you are hosting a website or a platform that allows the posting of content that did not originate with you. So David, where this would come into play for your website is the section, and welcome to Katya who just joined us. This is our Ask Me Anything live, and we're just making our way through questions. So David, on your site where you have got the properties tab, right, that allows kind of the conglomeration of, and I don't know where this information is pulled from, like, you know, local listings or whatever in your area. I would imagine that's the kind of content that they're talking about that can sometimes end up on realtors' websites, right? Content that you did not necessarily create, pictures that you did not necessarily take. That kind of thing is, you know, that's where people have the potential to incur some additional risk that they are not clear about, right? And so like I've worked with people who build, let's call them, you know, like one client, like an app builder, where people would be coming to his site, building and hosting apps through his site. That's a whole bunch of content that he is not creating himself and directly, you know, posting himself, which puts his business at some, you know, some amount of liability, potential liability. So under the DMCA, which is the Digital Millennium Copyright Act, basically there's a safe harbor provision. And what that means is that for a host of a website or a platform where other people can post content, if you have what's basically a designated copyright agent registered with United States Copyright Office, and you have a DMCA notice or provision on your website, and David, we can get that done for you. What it means is if somebody is going to allege copyright infringement based on something that a third party posted to your site or your platform, you can call on that safe harbor provision to basically limit your liability by responding. You collect certain information under the DMCA, which basically is the quick rundown is like the name of the individual, their contact information, their email, the specific content that they are alleging is infringing upon their copyrights. So they need to identify that for you, whether it's by web page or listing or whatever. And then a statement that, you know, to the best of their knowledge, it's an accurate statement that is infringing their rights. And then what that allows you to do is remove that content from your site and not incur any liability under copyright laws, right? So it is a way to keep hosts of websites and third-party platforms safe from the content created by others, right? And so once that happens, once you've removed the allegedly infringing content, you've done your part under that safe harbor provision. You don't have to do anything else. Now, some people, so for example, let's just take, I mean, you can imagine all of the huge platforms out there, Facebook, Google, right? All of the massive content conglomerators. Once they've done that action of removing the content, if somebody puts it back up, it's not their problem anymore, right? So if that post, for example, were to get repopulated and end up on your site again, you know, through a third party, not your, you know, you not directly repopulating it, you've already done your part because you did the initial removal. So, and again, this is not going to apply to most people's websites unless they have a website or a platform that allows others to post content to that site, right? So that's kind of the quick overview of that. Was that helpful, David?
Yeah, and like I said, the concern was, you know, they're actually the realtor.com magazine or the Realtor National Realtor Board is suggesting actually a designated copyright agent. So they have the right person to send the violation to, you know, so that they know, you know, you've got somebody that will respond to their allegation, you know, with that. So I thought that was kind of interesting. So you think that's something that we would do on my website because of the properties page I have?
Because of the properties page, because I assume you're not creating all these images and listings. So yeah, it is third-party content. If you want to be super safe, you could do that. In regards to the designated agent, my recommendation, because there's entrepreneurs everywhere who are like, I don't have, it's a little bit similar to the international privacy regulations that in other countries require that you have a designated privacy officer, right? And I've worked with a number of clients that are like, I don't have an expert on privacy inside of my business. No, of course you don't. You're a tiny micro business, but you need somebody who can accept an email and make sure that they respond or follow up to that email, including if it's to go get professional help once they receive a notification under those privacy laws. It's a little bit the same. So you'd have a designated copyright agent. Does not mean that they need to know anything about copyright infringement or allegations. They just need to be a real live person that can accept outreach under that provision and deal with it, right? So whether it's respond, whether it's to say, great, thank you for your notification, we will look into this and respond accordingly, like whatever, right? You need to have somebody that's designated, and really they're just looking for a real life person with an email and contact information attached that can respond to any notice that has to be provided under that law or from the Copyright Office.
Okay, yeah, and the email I sent you with the link to the article, you should have that in your inbox.
Okay.
And so they actually even give their own website with sample terms of use to put in. So the realtors, see, that's the whole IDX feed that realtors have that's come under violation. So the Realtor Association has actually pre-written terms of use that they're saying that we can just copy. So you might be able to take a look at that.
Got it. That link to the terms of use. Yeah, no, I'm happy to take a look at that and then get back to you. I've also got for folks who are creating websites or platforms that allow posting of content from other people. I also have a section that covers the DMCA. And so that's available as an additional kind of add-on template to the website protection package, but not everybody needs it, right? Just people who are allowing for places for other people to post. Okay, great question, David. That was a good thing to walk through and a good thing for people to pay attention to. All right, any other questions for today? Anything business related, legal related? Happy to chat about whatever, or think of other resources if you're looking for a specific resource in your business, even if it's not specifically legal related. I'm happy to field questions on that and see if I can point you in the right direction. And if not, then we can send people on their way and wish you all a happy July week in July and middle of summer. There's Diana. Hi, Diana.
Hey, I do have a question, actually.
Awesome.
I'm in the middle of creating a product prototype, and there are a couple it's a card deck.
Okay.
The inspirational
Mhm.
and educational, and it's kind of an entry point product into other products and services that I deliver.
Totally.
And so there are a couple of different platforms that have formed. One, the intention is to make it a lot like Spotify, I think is what they said, where they're bringing in product creators. They're going to be selling digital access to the product and also linking to the physical product for sale.
Oh, got it. Okay.
But they are able also to utilize it. I haven't been on there yet because it's a little preliminary for me. But they're able to allow people to play with the deck online.
Like a virtual deck. Yep.
Correct. And then another one kind of similar, but they allow it to be used on Zoom and interactions, and also are going to be licensing it on your behalf, where people can actually utilize it within their collection of card decks. They might have their own deck, but they might want to use yours as a coaching tool or whatever that's going to be.
Oh, so, interesting. So they do a platform that allows you to license that to other users.
Correct.
Got it. Okay.
So I'm just wondering, kind of what that, like, because it's foreign to me, and that I haven't done that before in that
Mhm, mhm.
I'm wondering, like disclaimers or what
Oh, yeah,
thoughts
what are
you
the
might
issues that
have.
come up with those types of uses? So yeah, so there's a couple things that I feel like I would need to talk about in this instance. One is that you always, in regards to a platform like this or any other platform that's new, that's going to have access to your content and will be using it in a certain way, is obviously to review the terms of use, right? So nobody wants to go do that, but I highly recommend you go do that to see what they're saying about what their rights are. Oh, Miss Henley, give mommy a minute, okay? Yeah. Okay, give mommy a few minutes and I'll come up and get that for you, okay? Thanks, Lovey. So starting with the terms of use so that you're clear on what they're saying they can do with your content, right? As well as what the rules of the game are in a licensing scenario where, for example, they're licensing your content, kind of sub-licensing it really to other people. You just want to be really clear on what that looks like. Is that a free exchange? Is it a paid exchange? Do you want it to be free? Do you know, and because certainly with some of these platforms that develop, especially early ones in the, in their space, so often we ended up just going along with whatever they say because we want to be on the platform, right? But if your goal is exclusivity in regards to the cards, or you want everybody who uses them to have to purchase them first, right? You're just going to have to look at all of that to see, does it help you accomplish your goals? On the other hand, if your goal is just exposure and brand building, maybe a free platform that allows for all of this, additional exchange is fine. You're just going to want to look, do people have to pay for that right to license? Is it a payment to the platform and not to you, right? All of that, all of the juicy details. So yeah, it's a little bit hard to answer like specific issues that come up because I'm not looking at the terms themselves.
Right.
In regards,
They're in actually beta, and they will be paid.
so they're paid platforms, but it's still like payment to the platform is very different than payment to you for use of your content on the platform, right? So you'll just want to look at, do they have payment capabilities that allow the creator of the cards to also use that as a platform that builds their business, right? So yeah, you'll just have to dig into all of that stuff. Generally when you're talking about licensing and licensing content, right, there's going to, usually the limiters around licensing are, especially if you're talking about a paid licensing scenario, right? You've got limiters around use, around geography, around numbers of users, around the type of use, right? So the language of licensing can get very complex, but it needs to be specific so that people know what is the actual use and is there payment? Is it unlimited? Is it for a set term? All of that stuff. But it's a little hard to guess what those might look like inside of a platform that's, setting itself up this way. So you'll just would have to go review that.
Right. It's all new. So it'll be, it's exciting, but it's also like, oh, heck.
No, right. And the other thing to keep in mind is sometimes the creator of these platforms don't think through all of the legal issues surrounding the platform as well, right? So it's a little bit, Marsha's on the call, but it's a little bit like Mighty Networks, right? It's a place that allows people to come create community, host a whole bunch of content. They didn't have locations for like terms, like the host of that section of the platform couldn't post their own terms and their own privacy stuff and things like that are real obvious legal issues that just were not yet built into the platform. And so with new technologies that can often happen where you're not seeing them really be very comprehensive in addressing the potential issues that could arise. Look at Facebook, good heavens, and the all of the privacy issues and the way that they have just ignored so many of the legal issues that go along with, yeah, I know they're the worst of the worst, go along with, building a platform of that kind and that size and that nature. They haven't taken their responsibility very seriously. But yeah, great question. just one of those things you have to explore as you start to look at options, you know. But yeah, it's a little groundwork goes a long way because it can help you either feel better about the platform or reach out to the platform creators and say, hey, how are you handling this particular issue? How are you building in functionality to support people with this issue, right? So sometimes if you're in the beta phase, right, you can be a real advocate for certain things that you'd like to see in the program or the platform that you know, are really necessary.
Awesome suggestion.
Mhm.
And then related to that is I'm working with somebody from the Small Business Association on looking at some down the road, like 5 years or so, doing things like distributing content and geofencing, those types of things. Are there any resources that you have somewhere where I can research some of the things related to legalities? Because we, like, on a national level, like if I'm not just doing them in California and we're, you know, say
And are you
going
talking about the geofencing side, or what specifically are you talking about?
product distribution and triggers related to so I guess it would be, I don't know if we're going to do an app where it's going to be downloadable and usable in different locations. I don't know what it looks like yet. It's still in the planning stages.
Got it. And so when you say you're working with another person or company, are you guys co-creating this, or are they a service provider helping you with
An advisor. He's an
What was that?
He's an advisor.
He's an advisor to your business?
Correct.
Okay, got it. So, I mean, I assume, and this is where I would start with any advisor, right? Or anybody that is a consultant, advisor, independent contractor to your business, is do you have an agreement in place that says what that exchange is, what their role is, what they're advising on, all of that?
Under the local Small Business Association, but it's not super detail oriented. It's
Oh,
like,
got it. That's right. You said
X,
it's
Y,
through
and
the
Z.
Small Business Association. Okay.
Right.
So he's just helping advise you on opportunities for your business related to product distribution and geofencing.
And business and business building. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So, you know, with it being, you know, you said like 5 years out, things are going to change a whole bunch in 5 years. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know really how to advise you on that stuff, except to, you know, at each step of the way, when you're about to implement something in your business is when you'd be at the point of potentially needing either legal advice or legal support around the impacts of that particular decision.
Yeah, makes sense. But I thought I would throw that out because it's just like, okay, I've not done that before. He's super high level. And I'm like, I'm willing to step into it, but it's beyond my comfort level and it's beyond my knowledge base.
Right. Yeah. Well, and my understanding, like, and let me just look, because I think, give me 1 second. Yeah, so geofencing, it's, you know, it's what I thought it is. How is it currently used? So there's platforms, I think, is it Plus This? I know some people that do this in their business. So for example, they would target people traveling to a very specific conference, right? Which means that they can set up online advertising that will be shown to people only within a certain zip code, or even like a series of blocks in a city or whatever. So that when those people are there, bam, 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 they're getting shown all of these ads through Facebook or Google or whatever the ad platform is, right? Saying like, hey, did you know next week is this other conference? And this was the literal strategy, right? To get people to be like, oh, that's amazing. I'm just going to stay in town and go to this next conference if they didn't already know about it, right? So, so yeah, geofencing, it gets into, you know, digital advertising. You've got privacy issues involved, you know, for anybody that's doing like advertising through third-party platforms that is targeted like that. You have to have disclosures in your privacy policy, right? You have to make sure that, especially if you're targeting people that have visited your website or visited your Facebook page or whatever, however the ad campaign is set up, that you're making those disclosures if they click over to your website, that you say in your privacy policy, these are our practices. Just because it's, people often, and now it's, it's much more common now. People get used to the fact that certain ads follow them around online, right? But for a time, it would really offend people. So it's just important for any of your advertising practices to make sure that they're properly disclosed in your terms and in your privacy policies.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, good question. All right, any others? Let's see, we've got Patty and Barbara and Artis, some familiar faces. Thank you, Diana, for that. David, always great to see you. Kathleen is
I
here.
raised my hand again.
Oh, again, perfect. Yep, pop it up. Maybe I couldn't remember if you'd never put it down.
No, it was just a quick compliment on your email that came out with the June Guts, Grit, and Great Business roundup with your podcast. I don't know how long you've actually had that in there, but that second by second breakdown of key summaries of the entire podcast broke down into then even more detail further down is very helpful. And I wanted to compliment you for that. Maybe you've always done it. I never noticed it before, but I was going through trying to pick several out to listen to and thought, wow, this is really a neat way to document what was said, because there's so many areas covered in that time frame with it. You don't want to have to re-listen to it 3 times just to find it. You
That's
can go
right.
through and you can even search it now because you give the literal word for word and you can search for a keyword. So I wanted to give you a compliment on that.
Oh, thank you. Well, I appreciate you noticing that. I do. I care a lot that people are able to see the specifics of like, oh yeah, I'm interested in that particular topic, right? And it's why, we've done a couple things with the podcast. One is try to send summaries around that, recap each episode on a monthly basis. Some months I've been better about getting those out in a timely manner. I think I've probably missed a few months. But then if you click through to the actual show notes page, you're right. You've got the timestamps, you've got the bullet points that talk about some of the key topics that come out of each episode. And then you also down below have a full transcript of the episode that is searchable. And for people, some people read much faster than they listen. And so they're going to be more likely to scan that transcript than they are to actually listen to the whole episode. I just wanted to make sure that we gave people various ways of getting information that would help them.
Yeah, and I appreciate that. And then after that compliment, I was going to ask if you wouldn't mind emailing me later when you have the information. I know how to get the full transcript, but are you personally typing the short summary up, or are you farming that out to somebody you might be able to share via email with me?
Yeah, totally. So I've got a team, right? I've got a podcast editor, and then I've got my VA. Actually, I have 2 VAs, and one is specifically dedicated to my podcast. The other one runs a whole bunch of other things behind my business, but helps occasionally support the podcast and also does a lot of the review. But then I also put eyeballs on it before it gets published, and I will often jump in and fix things or add a few thoughts, because I'll remember something having been the one that went through the conversation, maybe a little differently than what I see somebody else may catch from it, right? And so I might add a few bullet points or change some things or grab a different quote. So it's a little bit of a team effort. But yeah, I'd be happy to chat with you about that separately, David. And the transcript service that I use is just otter.ai for anybody that's looking for a great transcript service, right?
That's what I use too.
It's a great one. It's not perfect. Like, we still have to get in and edit that transcript, right? Especially because, and it's not perfect. Like, we don't go through every word of the transcript, but I care a lot that the upper section properly identifies people, is not misspelling names, has my intro and outro correct, like some things like that we consistently have to correct. And so we do spend a bit of time editing each transcript as well.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thanks for that feedback. I really appreciate it. All right. And let me look just to make sure I haven't seen it. Any other comments? All right. Any other questions from people today? We're good. You guys all having a good summer? Hopefully you're at least getting to enjoy some sunshine and time with family and friends. We joked, we all got COVID here in the Campbell household in May. And we were like, vaccinated, and then we got COVID, and then we're like, what do we want to go do for 3 months? We have this is super immunity. And so it's actually been a fun 3-month period because we've taken little trips and eaten out and like done things that we really haven't done much of. And so yeah, for me, there's some, little parts of our summer that I've really enjoyed that actually feel like summer. So hopefully you're able to have, some fun segments of your summer like that as well. Hopefully minus the actual getting of COVID, but anyways, well, Kathleen, you are raising your hand. What question can I help you with?
I just wanted to say hello. Last week, what happened was I have my calendar set up to give me a reminder about the call, and it reminded me, and I thought, wait, I think that's next week, but I'm not exactly sure. So that's why I went on a week early.
No worries. Every once in a while, I see somebody pop into my Zoom room because it sends me an email, right? But no, we try to stick to our Monday schedules for the Ask Me Anything Live. So thanks for checking in, Kathleen.
I want to say, isn't it nice to see sunshine and have 70-degree weather?
It is nice. I will not complain 1 second about that. Yeah, the joke here in Seattle is like June is January, right? We call it January, but it's like we don't see the sun usually until after the 4th of July. So it does. We're actually getting to like the summer part of our summer.
Yeah.
All
I'm in
right.
Seattle too, so that's why I was mentioning it.
Right. I know.
And it's not too hot.
I know.
See,
we appreciate that.
I really say I am a Seattle wimp. I like the 70s.
Totally. So many of us do. Well, great to see you, Kathleen. Thanks for being here today. Any other questions? Anything else I can help you with? All righty. And if not, we'll wrap it up. But next month, I think I sent a reminder out that had the next couple months. Next month, the Ask Me Anything is on August 8th, right? So August 8th, same time, same place. If you're on my list, you'll get the Zoom links. But thanks, you guys. Hope you have a lovely rest of your month. Enjoy your summer. You're welcome, Marcia. Great to see you as always. And we'll connect with you guys again. All right. Okay. Bye-bye.